Idaho police are baffled by a brutal Christmas-time killing.
There was blood all over the walls, all over the ceiling. There was blood everywhere.
How many times can you kill a person?
It showed that somebody had to be pretty much in a rage.
Investigators hone in on a would-be killer until a shocking confession turns the case upside down.
We were stunned. First thought is, how can that be?
And a victim's family is left to wonder if police have the right man.
I was afraid he was coming out here to get me.
Kamiye, Idaho is a tiny one-horse town tucked in a valley along the Clearwater River. Its rugged beauty ringed by mountains that can trap chilling winds and mounting snow.
The winters up here can get fierce. I've seen it right here. I've seen 3 foot of snow on the ground, 10 below, for days and days and days.
It may be best known as the lonesome site where early explorers Lewis and Clark camped out in 1806, waiting for the snow to melt before continuing their trek west. Winters here remain equally as brutal today.
People hunt, they fish. Everybody has a freezer. And everybody, if it isn't full by October, November, better get cracking. Better get cracking.
When winter hits, residents can be snowed in for days or even weeks at a time.
You get up on that hill and you look over there and say, oh my God, what a pretty place. This kind of into the road, if you will.
Everybody knows everybody. Everybody looks after everybody else.
Kamiye was just the kind of place Teresa Jones was looking for.
She did love it. She would send home pictures of fish, salmon she'd catch, and then she would talk about canning it and the garden. Out there, she just kind of came into her own and just enjoyed life.
She grew up in Gustavus, Ohio, as one of 4 kids in a working-class family.
Teresa was an outdoor girl. We worked in our garden. We had to do yard work after a storm, pick sticks up, trash. She liked bike rides, taking walks. She would go out in the backyard to get away from anybody just to read her book.
She liked to go get worms, butterflies. She liked to go fishing, and she danced everywhere she went.
Christmas was always fun. The house was always decorated up. We did the liquid snow on the windows and the little crepe paper from corner to corner.
Teresa did well enough in school, but her life took a frustrating turn due to a rare and debilitating condition that affected her eyesight.
She had basically no side vision. When she watched TV, we would kind of laugh at her because she would have to sit real close to the TV. She would sit on her elbows and get like 3 feet from the TV. But we really didn't think of it as a disability. Teresa was Teresa.
Teresa, she had this childlike aura about her that everything was going to be all right.
Although Teresa receives unconditional love and support from her family, like any young adult, she longs for her freedom. So in 1976, when her Uncle Morris asks her to help him out on his rural homestead in Kamiye, Teresa jumps at the opportunity.
We had talked so much about Kamiye. I think she had it in her mind that she wanted to change, maybe a little more independence.
From the moment she arrives, Teresa falls in love with all Idaho has to offer.
I think she loved the mountains and the lakes. It was like starting anew.
kind of thrived out there. Idaho, she lived close enough to town. She could ride her bicycle, she could walk. It was only a couple blocks to their downtown area, and she just loved it.
They took turns cooking. They went fishing. He taught her how to can fish or cold pack fish. They'd try and fish to get enough for the whole year. They would freeze and can fruits and vegetables, and they did their work together. It was a combined effort. Household chores, yard work.
She felt like she was important to her uncle, and they were taking care of each other. I think that she found peace more than anything in Idaho.
5 years later, Teresa's Uncle Morris passes away. He leaves his little house and all his worldly possessions to the beloved niece who helped care for him.
That little house was her castle. She fended for herself. She was able to grow her little garden, kept house, rode her bicycle to town, took care of herself.
She just wrote, about the gardens and papering and planting and canning, and they went here and there, and she had to walk everywhere. And she made a lot of friends, and she worked hard, and I think Idaho became her home. So I think she felt independent, and we wanted her to come back, but I think she just wasn't quite ready yet.
Teresa also builds a strong network of friends, including her next-door neighbor, Bonnie.
Bonnie was kind of the neighborhood matriarch. She knew everybody. Her house is probably 200 feet from Teresa's house. She could look out her door and see everything was going on over there.
Bonnie and Teresa did look out for each other. They kept an eye on each other, and they sort of knew what was going on.
They were pretty close. She talked about Bonnie quite a bit. She was always there for Teresa.
But on December 26, 1988, Teresa's close friend and neighbor begins to feel a chill of worry. She's expecting Teresa for a visit. It's a weekly routine to drink coffee, eat homemade scones, and share a little bit of gossip. Today, Teresa is a no-show. Bonnie also notices the lack of smoke coming from her chimney.
Bonnie knew that Teresa's only source of heat was the wood fire.
So if you don't see smoke coming out of a chimney, that's just part of the West. In the Indian culture, wigwam without smoke coming up through the sticks, bad sign, bad things.
Bonnie phones Teresa, but gets no answer. Concerned, she reaches out to Teresa's family in Ohio.
She wanted to know if Teresa had come home for Christmas. And I said no. She said, well, she hadn't seen Teresa for a few days and there was no smoke coming out of her chimney. And I just knew in my heart of hearts that something had happened. I just knew. I knew something wasn't right.
So does Bonnie. She calls police and asks them to do a wellness check. Deputies arrive on the scene and knock on Teresa's door. When she doesn't respond, Bonnie offers them the key Teresa had given her for emergencies.
When investigators entered Teresa's home, they were struck by how dark it was inside and how cold. It was about 28 degrees in the home.
The house was frozen solid, and she had no water. And, the pipes had froze.
Officers carefully make their way through the tiny home. In the bedroom, they make a chilling discovery.
As you walked in the room, there was blood all over the walls, all over the ceiling. It appeared to be blood spatter, cast-off blood, from, either a weapon or where somebody used their hand like this. There was blood everywhere.
On the bed is a sleeping bag, and there's something underneath it.
We pulled back the sleeping bag and noticed that Teresa Jones was laying on her back, face up, and was deceased. And you have to remember, this was in December. It was cold at that time, freezing outside. The only heat that was in this house was a small little wood stove, and of course there's no heat in it. She was frozen solid.
Her face and body are badly beaten, but what stands out to police is how neatly her body is positioned in bed.
The person who had beaten her so brutally she had gotten back into the bed, or been put into the bed and then covered up.
There is another puzzling detail.
She had in the middle of her forehead a circular hole, and at first I thought maybe it might be from a gunshot wound.
Detectives also find clumps of human hair that match Teresa's scattered about the house, literally pulled out at the roots.
It showed that somebody had to be pretty much in a rage. It would have taken somebody very strong to follow her and beat her from place to place.
It was kind of a maniacal, if you will, crime that just, she was probably already dead and the guy just kept on beating her for no reason. I mean, how many times can you kill a person? Sad deal.
Her home is painted in blood, from the bedroom to the bath.
The bathroom sink looked like somebody had tried to do a little bit of cleaning up, and there's blood splatters on down to the side of the sink.
Oddly, a neat pile of bloody bath towels and wash rags stacked near the sink leads investigators to believe it's not the killer who cleaned up.
I feel that he made her clean up. I feel that he took her in the bathroom trying to make her clean herself up because he'd beaten her so bad. So I collected, blood, I collected hair, I collected these towels in case we could get DNA.
Police also scour the house to determine how the murderer might have made his way in. They notice a broken window sealed with heavy plastic. Investigators immediately canvass the area and find a fresh set of footprints in the snow just outside Teresa's window.
I had them go out and contact all the neighbors to see if they'd seen anything, anybody walking around, anybody at the house, if a fight had occurred there, anything like that.
The neighbors are in shock that someone could have done this to Teresa. Is her killer on the run, or coldly lying in wait until he strikes his next victim?
Somebody else might be in jeopardy. We were very concerned, afraid that something else was going to happen.
Police in the tiny town of Kamiye, Idaho, are on the hunt for a vicious killer after 29-year-old Teresa Jones is brutally murdered. Her body is found frozen inside her home. As detectives work to make sense of the shocking Christmas killing, Teresa's family in Ohio receives the devastating news.
I found out about Teresa from a phone call from my mother. She was hysterical. I could barely understand her.
It was just such a shock that all you can think of is, she's gone, and how am I going to cope?
I just laid awake at night and just prayed and hoped that she just passed out early. Might have taken her a few hours to die, but I'm just hoping that she just passed out, lost consciousness early.
We had spent Christmas at my mom's house, We had family, we had friends. We're in a nice warm house, making memories, having a nice dinner. She's laying naked under a sleeping bag, dead.
Don Kissamore and another relative make the journey west.
You feel like you have to get involved. I called my brother-in-law. We go together. And it's wintertime. It's cold. It's icy. There's snow on the ground. It's slick and it's miserable. It's a long haul down the mountain and up the river road and through and around.
While making the dangerous trip, Don is consumed by a haunting image.
The little house where Teresa lived was actually built on an Indian burial ground. I've heard various thoughts from people that said, well, that house was haunted. Should never have been built there.
Meanwhile, investigators learn more disturbing details from the medical examiner conducting Teresa's autopsy.
When he cut the skull open, her brain was basically all contused and bruised and swelling and bloody. He dictated it to be like a heavyweight boxing match, that she'd taken such a pounding in the head from punches, and her brain had bounced back and forth in her skull.
The mysterious hole in Teresa's forehead is not a bullet wound, but a puncture wound of some kind.
Looked to him kind of like a cookie cutter. They would have taken something that had an edge on it that would be hit with enough force to just cause a divot there on her forehead.
The pathologist determines she had likely died on the 21st of December, 5 full days before her body was found.
There was no heat in the house, no smoke up the chimney, stone cold dead, if you will. Just like it was a tomb in there.
The evidence suggests that the crime against Teresa Jones was not only cold-blooded, it was personal.
I've been involved with a lot of batteries where husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, but I've never seen where it was so violent.
I couldn't stand to think that had happened to her.
So how could such a monster be lurking in this peaceful community that Teresa called home? Police begin by questioning those closest to the victim.
I thought first that somebody had just come along and broken in, some kind of a nut, but you would think somebody would have seen something. Bonnie lived right there, not much escaped Bonnie.
Although her neighbor Bonnie saw nothing unusual, another resident tells police she saw Teresa walking with an unidentified man the night of the murder.
Teresa's neighbor told police that she had seen Teresa walking through a snowstorm with a man. She didn't get a great look at his face, though, because it was snowing outside.
She can only identify the man as being tall, with a slender build, long hair, and sideburns. Investigators cast a wide net to determine if any similar crimes had been committed in the surrounding area. The family says that Teresa confided in them that she was once attacked.
He was from the Indian reservation, and she was pretty upset, but she said that not to worry, but she never really let on about the physical abuse. She kind of kept that to herself.
A lot of people pointed police in the direction of a well-known resident who had a temper, and he was known to frequent the area around Teresa's home.
Authorities pay a visit to Joseph Arthur.
I'd like to ask you a few questions.
He was a fairly good-sized guy, over 6 foot, and fairly strong. And a couple of people had known that he had lost his temper a couple times, so, that's what we were looking for, somebody that was big and strong.
You got a warrant?
He tells investigators he had nothing to do with it and that he was nowhere near Teresa's place.
Stop wasting my time.
So they look into the man's whereabouts on the evening of the 21st to see if they can connect him to the crime. At the same time, authorities learned from Teresa's closest neighbor, Bonnie, that she'd been involved with a man named George Porter.
George Porter was a man who was from Washington State. He'd moved to Idaho, and he latched onto Teresa, and they were dating on and off. They would be seen around town in local pubs, and he also played music. He was trying to be a country western singer.
When questioned, Porter tells police he'd last seen Teresa several days before her body was found, when she'd come to a bar where he was playing.
Here at the Christmas party.
He had a sound alibi. He said that he was staying with a friend in a nearby town. He said he had nothing to do with what happened to her.
Well, unfortunately, we found Mrs. Jones dead.
Porter remains at the top of the suspect list until police can confirm his alibi. They also delve deeper into Teresa's dating history and discover she'd only recently ended a relationship with a man named Dale Cooper.
Dale Cooper had dated Teresa Jones off and on for several months before she broke up with him to start dating George Porter. He was known around town. People said that he was more serious about Teresa than she was about him.
You're drunk, and I paid for all of this.
Now, police are left to wonder if jealousy might have gotten the best of Dale Cooper. Desperate for clues in the brutal beating death of Teresa Jones, investigators in Kamiye, Idaho narrow their sights on several possible suspects, in particular, George Porter, one of Teresa's ex-boyfriends.
Police had reason to suspect George Porter because he had been dating Teresa off and on. However, George said that he had a rock-solid alibi.
I was at a friend's house. What were you doing? We were at the house, having a few beers, hanging out.
He'd been staying in a nearby town that night with a friend who verified his alibi.
With the suspect list dwindling, police take another look at the crime scene. They hope the physical evidence and Teresa's injuries might provide a link. They focus on the circular wound on her forehead.
When investigators entered the home, they found a fire poker to put out fires. There was soot on one end of it, and they found flesh on the other end, so they believe that the killer used it to create the wound in Teresa's head.
I took in evidence a poker that was next to this little wood stove that it didn't have an end, it was just a rod with a little end that would make that mark. So at one point that poker was jammed into her head.
That wound was a result of him actually stabbing her with the poker. He meant to kill her. He meant to kill her when he went in there that night. Rage.
The fireplace poker caused the wound, but police can't find any physical evidence on it to link it to any of the suspects. Back to square one. They take another look at Joseph Arthur, the Native American man known to frequent the area around Teresa's home. Police begin investigating his claim that he was out of town the night she was murdered. In the meantime, Teresa's family is left to wonder about why Teresa was killed and who could be next.
Not knowing for 2 or 3 weeks where the suspect was, it was a lot of sleepless nights. We just wanted to know that he was caught and behind bars.
I was afraid he was coming out here to get me. I guess because the way he broke in, I think with all the trauma, wild thinking, I guess.
Police had one person left to look at, and it was a person who was also very close to Teresa, Dale Cooper.
Can we get the check, please?
One more beer.
No, just the check.
Police have reason to be suspicious of Teresa's ex. She had apparently ended their relationship after meeting George Porter.
I don't want to buy you any more beers.
She considered him a friend. They would probably go shoot pool, maybe have a beer or two once in a while.
She broke it off mostly because he became possessive and thought that she should spend all her time with him.
You had plenty already. I'm not paying for any more.
Let's see what the big deal is.
The big deal is you're drunk. And I paid for all of this.
Investigators also learned their relationship had been volatile.
I'm so tired. I'm so tired of supporting you. Goodbye. Hey!
No.
Let go of me.
We did find that they did fight a couple times. He threatened to burn her house down a couple of different times, threatened to kill her. So he was a viable suspect. He was somebody that we needed to look at.
As investigators focus on Cooper, they uncover a disturbing story from a woman named Terry Davis. According to Terry, Dale had gone elk hunting, which is illegal at this time of year.
Dale Cooper told her that he had been hunting. She said that Dale had given her a pair of bloody gloves to hide. The blood she saw in the gloves came from elk.
She says she noticed strands of hair on the gloves that were too long to be from an elk and thought they might be from a human. Could this be the link they have been searching for to Teresa's killer? Weeks after the grisly murder of Teresa Jones, Idaho authorities are looking for conclusive evidence to connect a killer to the crime. One woman's tale about a pair of bloody gloves may be the link they are searching for.
Essentially, the bloody gloves became a story of their own. Terry Davis said she had told police about the bloody gloves previously, and she claimed, bizarrely, that police told her she could keep them herself.
And her incredibly strange tale doesn't stop there.
I put them outside and I put them on there, and now they're just gone.
She tells authorities that she placed the gloves on a snowman in her front yard, but Dale Cooper removed them. While investigators are working to track down the bloody gloves, a private investigator talks to Dale Cooper about the crime. Then, out of nowhere, he makes a shocking confession.
Just tell me in your own words what happened.
Well, we were together, we had sex, we got into a fight.
Dale Cooper gave a detailed, vivid confession in which he said that he killed Teresa Jones.
And I hit her again.
It turned the case upside down, and it shocked investigators in the community.
His admission is that they had been together, had sex, and that they'd been pushing each other around.
Just get out of my house. Get out. I don't want you to go.
They got into a spat. He hit her, she fell and hit her head on the stove. And he carried her in bed and hit her again on the head.
Have they finally found Teresa's killer?
I heard about his confession. I didn't believe it at the time, and I still don't believe it.
Investigators step up the search for the bloody gloves, but come up empty.
When it came time to produce those gloves, they weren't found anywhere. So these gloves were introduced as a complicating factor, but we couldn't make anything out of it.
Police came to believe that Terry Davis had made up the story of the bloody gloves. And when they looked into her background more, they discovered that Terry had a series of past mental health issues.
When you have a disturbed mind, you're seeing life through a kaleidoscope. You don't see everything as they are.
As quickly as it mounts, the evidence against Dale Cooper begins to fall apart.
Police were left wondering if Dale Cooper really could be guilty of cold-blooded murder. And if he wasn't, why in the world would he say he was?
But Dale Cooper's version of events simply doesn't fit the crime scene. And police doubt he could have physically pulled off such an attack.
First thought is, how can that be? He was only 5'6", maybe. He may have weighed 125 pounds. I would say he wouldn't be able physically to have done this. But it took a tremendous amount of strength and rage to have just beat Teresa like that.
Why don't you tell us what really happened?
When police question Cooper further, he stuns them by recanting his confession.
But I didn't kill her.
He stated that he didn't do it, but he had been coerced or persuaded to his guilt. So that kind of put us into a conundrum.
Exhaustion and guilt.
Cooper claims the private investigator who first questioned him pressured him into confessing. He tells police the PI tricked him into saying what she wanted to hear.
Fortunately, the confession had been recorded. And when police listened to it, it became clear that Dale Cooper had been goaded and led on by the private investigator. In addition, Dale Cooper was a man with a very low IQ. He was someone who was easily manipulated and led.
So there's no denying that the investigator used strong-arm tactics and tried to whittling down, browbeating.
I definitely didn't murder her.
And this is your final statement? You have nothing else to say?
That is my final statement.
Dale Cooper also has an alibi.
He was supposedly at a birthday party in Kamiye, Idaho, which is 7 miles away, on what we determined the 21st of December. And that was corroborated with family members.
As detectives look for another lead suspect, the investigation takes a toll on Teresa's family.
The investigation took so long. They said there's really nothing we could do. It was just too hard. Things like this didn't happen. I mean, we truly did know what to do.
With Dale's bizarre confession off the table, police are again at a loss. Until a young witness comes forward with a troubling account.
A 12-year-old girl who lived next door to Teresa told police that she was playing in a yard on the night of the murder with several other children. They were called in to dinner, but the girl stayed behind.
And then she said that she saw a dark figure, a man in Teresa's house, and that there was some fighting, yelling, and she heard a couple shots.
Authorities can't find anyone to substantiate her story. Plus, the medical examiner found no evidence that Teresa had been shot. Investigators ask, did the little girl see something? Or does she just have an overactive imagination? Just when authorities think they've hit another dead end, a tip comes in that could blow the case wide open. Investigators in the tiny town of Kamiye, Idaho, are looking into the vicious murder of Teresa Jones. Out of new leads, they decide to take one more look at her boyfriend, George Porter.
In talking to the law enforcement in the area, they knew him to be violent. In fact, the court clerk, when we tried to get criminal records of his past, she just basically boxed up 2 or 3 boxes of copies and just give them to him. Says, normally I charge for the paper, but you need to get this guy.
After reviewing his extensive criminal record, authorities visit the local hotspots Porter frequented in Kamiye, looking for answers. A waitress at one of the pubs vividly remembers Teresa Jones being in the bar less than 10 days before her death. The waitress tells authorities Teresa was frantic.
She was shaking, she was afraid, and she said that George Porter was threatening her. He was saying he was going to beat her up, and he was harassing her. Teresa told the waitress she was very afraid, and she begged the waitress to call the police. The waitress said that she would, but then George Porter rushed into the bar.
All right, look, they're coming.
By the time detectives arrive, Porter is gone. But for safety's sake, one of the officers escorts Teresa home.
He took Teresa home, and Teresa's afraid that he might already be in the house. So he goes into the house, finds him in bed, and he tells him, "You have to leave. Teresa doesn't want you to live in here anymore." She steps up and says,
George, I don't want you living here anymore. Go to your brother's place across the river, his little trailer.
Really?
I want you to leave the key.
Oh, cops here.
You can't stay here. You gotta leave your key too.
so he took the key off his key ring and set it on the table. The officer took the key and handed it to Teresa. So he was evicted.
Here's your key. See? Here's your key.
Teresa being so gullible, maybe she thought this was normal. You know, this is how women are treated. Or maybe she just had a little bit of low self-esteem, and then she finally decided, I'm not taking any more of this.
Police learn that's not Teresa's first altercation with Porter. She'd filed a restraining order against him after an officer on patrol witnessed him beating her in public weeks before the incident at the bar.
Just as he passed the church, he saw some figures there. He stops the car, backs it up just a little bit, turns it a little bit so that the light is on them. And he sees George hit her, just a vicious hit across the face. So he arrests him at that time.
Bonnie also claims she witnessed Porter's pattern of abuse when he and Teresa got in a fight on her front porch.
George grabbed Teresa, and pulled her back, and in so doing, they hit Bonnie's storm door and broke it. And he grabbed Teresa, according to Bonnie, and he hit her. And Teresa was wearing slippers. Hit her so hard it knocked her right out of her slippers in the snow.
The repeated stories of abuse are enough for police to focus their sights squarely on George Porter. They circle back with the neighbor who'd seen Teresa walking with a tall, slender man between 6:10 and 6:30 on the night in question, and ask her to take a look at a police lineup.
This woman did positively identify by picture George Porter as the person standing with Teresa Jones on the 21st of December.
As news leaks that police are honing in on Porter, a truck driver comes forward with stunning information.
A trucker said that he picked up George Porter on December 21st when George was hitchhiking. And he said that George had a guitar case with him. That guitar case would prove to be George Porter's undoing.
Detectives are convinced if Porter had the case with him the night of the murder, it could contain critical evidence.
George Porter was staying with his brothers, so police executed a search warrant at the brothers' home, and they found George Porter's guitar case. A DNA testing revealed that there was blood and human hair on the guitar case. The blood tested to Teresa Jones, and the hair on the guitar case matched.
Police questioned Porter about the new findings. He claims he kept his guitar at Teresa's place and recalls she had a nosebleed one night while walking by the case on her way to the bathroom. Despite a very convenient story, the blood spatter on the case is not consistent with a nosebleed.
It is important to our case to show that it was there during the time that she had taken the beating, and with fresh blood on it, he had to take it home with him that night.
It put him there. So that was a key point in our investigation, even though circumstantial, to prove that he had been at the house. It put him at the scene of the crime 100%.
Detectives believe George Porter simply sweet-talked himself into her home that night, despite a restraining order against him.
She needs to rule her own life, not have a man rule her life. You know, he's just about taken everything away from her. As each beating occurred, she lost a little bit more of her sight. I think she just said, I'm done. You don't own me. I'm going to take control of my own life.
You got to remember, George he's a silver-tongued devil too. He's tall, slender, good-looking guy. Yeah, and he probably got a couple of beers in her. Say, oh, come on, honey, we can patch this up. It'll be all right. And da-da-da-da-da, and then went downhill from that point.
I believe he was just in a rage. She was not going to drop charges on the assault, and he wanted her to. I think she held her ground, and he just threw him into a rage.
Even more troubling, police believe Porter went back to Teresa's home after the beating.
One of the neighbors had noticed somebody going through the window after the 21st, either the next day or the day after that. Of course, never reported it. So our determination is that Porter returned to the scene and found her dead. And what people do when you find somebody dead, you cover their face up.
Despite mostly circumstantial evidence, George Porter is arrested and charged with murder. At the trial, Porter's ex-wife and several ex-girlfriends testify about his history of violence towards women.
One had been thrown out of a car, out of a truck, about 50 miles an hour. One had been beaten so severely with a belt and a belt buckle. All four of them stated, and also stated in the trial, that large clumps of hair were being ripped from their heads by Mr. Porter when he was violent.
Porter maintains his innocence and points the finger at Teresa's ex-boyfriend, Dale Cooper, the man who first confessed to the murder and later recanted. Jurors don't buy it and render a guilty verdict. Porter is sentenced to death in 1990. But after 25 years on death row, he's released after a Supreme Court decision deems his IQ is too low for him to be executed. Teresa's family attends the hearing prior to his release. Janet Jones faces her daughter's killer.
I decided I want to be there and look him at the eye. I went up and I said to him, "Why did you murder my daughter?" I said, "I'm going to have my say." And I told the judge, I said, "Nothing against you. Your hands are tied, but this justice sucks."
The judge made the decision that his sentence would be effectively canceled. I felt to myself, my God, now there's a guy who got away with murder.
George Porter is paroled in 2013.
He may have served 25 years, but I think he should have got the death penalty. And to be perhaps unchristian-like, I think probably that he should have had a bullet in the head or hung. I don't know if you're allowed to say that. He should have been dead.
I'm just very, just like, Teresa, why? She finally got a backbone. I'm not doing this. I'm taking control of my life. I'm a woman. I can roar, hear me roar. She didn't get out soon enough.
I'm angry. He stole a sweet, soulful, trusting, he stole one of God's greatest creations in my book.
I would like to meet with George, to look him in the eye, and tell him what a miserable son of a bitch he is.